Hey, welcome back to Chris Comments, the show of common sense on common ground. This particular episode, I'm going to be talking about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard celebrity divorce trial that's been going on. Normally, I'm not concerned about celebrity he said, she said, even in the courtroom. Their marriage either worked or it bombed, just like any other celebrity marriage. To begin with, it bombed like any normal celebrity prima donna actor bullcrap thing. But there was something about what caught my attention was the familiarity through previous relationships that fell in line with this one. Okay, now I personally am no shrink or psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever, so at the time I didn't know what borderline personality disorder was, what histrionic personality disorder was. You know, that's a bunch of stuff that was thrown out there, and I get it. You know, there's a great deal of overlaps and stuff, and people not being able to distinguish the two, bipolarism or anything else with it. You know, borderline personality disorder or histrionic. You know, I get it. Which is why I'm glad I never tried to be a shrink. I never tried to tackle it. Now, there was a lot of stuff where, you know, videos and statements that were made, either Depp's defense or Heard's defense, was countered with nitpicky counters through Depp defense and Heard's defense also. You know, by overall in general, it looked like it cut both ways. The relationship had its ups and downs, and all this good stuff. But what I noticed was a behavioral pattern that the Dr. Curry was stating, and it reminded me a lot of a relationship that I had with someone who would almost in this exact order, if not jumble up the pathways, but more or less in this exact same fashion. My ex would push buttons leading to an argument or fight, cry like a victim, then seek and arrange peace to calm everything down, self-victimize herself as a leading strong woman, and leading to a strong woman who won't be a victim anymore, and then pushes the buttons all over again, like in the first moment, leading to another argument, crying like a victim, argument or fight. You know, now I never actually fought, as in thrown down, with my. So to this day, I'm 49 years old, and to this day, I still hadn't gone to the point to where I've knocked the crap out of the woman that I say I love you to. And it's mostly because I also know martial arts. I know how to block, redirect, and deflect and redirect the punches that get thrown at me, or the pushes or the whatever. You know, I know how to grapple hold. I know to hold down and sort of suspend her physical advantage or confrontational advances. I'm sorry. And it's pretty much like the way you would when trying to break up a fight between two bros, you know, or two family members. You know, you're not really knocking them out. You're grabbing them, you're pulling them away, pushing them down, pushing them to the side, grapple holding him, twisting his arm, putting him up against the wall, or doing it to both at the same time who don't want to stop fighting. You're doing what looks like you're just flailing your arms, but in actuality, you're pushing their fists over to one side while standing in between them, and then pushing them back. You know, and to be perfectly honest, and not just to be bragging, it's a little bit of bragging rights. This is the same way that I was with any wild girl that I'd gotten involved with. I'm not always a saint. I wasn't always this common sense on common ground. At the same time, I was just not really in fine tune with that mentality the way I am now. So I've never struck, punched, or kicked any of my lovers, any of my girlfriends, up to my common law wife in the past, whenever buttons were pushed. Okay. I have, however, blocked their advances. I have had to sort of do the whole twist the arm and hold down until they finally calm down, until she calms down. But I've never actually had to. I never actually had to beat her up, or strike her, or punch her, or even kick, or anything like that. And I'm actually very proud to say that. But some of the ladies, when they realize that they're not going to get beat up, they have a tendency to push and all this good stuff and test their waters. My common law wife, who I'm not going to be naming, it's in the past now, but she followed the same symptoms that this lady Amber Heard did. Okay, the woman that I was common law married with would push my buttons, triggering my anger. It would lead to an argument, sometimes a heated argument, and then she'd pretend that she'd be wronged by me. And then she would try to arrange it to where we would both calm down, and she would be the peacekeeper, and talk about how she can't live so horrible, and that she's grown to be a strong woman to where she won't be a victim anymore. And I understand all of that, and it actually had me a lot of pride in it actually made me happy to be with her, okay, because of that. But here's the thing: once we'd come back to peace, whether it be makeup or kiss and makeup or whatever makeup, time would go by and she'd find a way to push my buttons all over again, even if it was the same method, just a different tactic, or same tactic, different method, whichever the case. She would go right back to it. And after a while, it got to the point to where, it almost seemed as if I was her shrink. She would reorganize everything to where we would come back to a calm, but she would need to do it her way, and in a way that she technically would not be able to do if she was still together with her first husband, the man who fathered her children. Okay? The man who she gave birth to his children, the man that she fell in love with, that she actually gave her heart, mind, and soul to. She was talking with me the way that she just couldn't be able to do with the man that she originally fell in love with. Okay? And this doesn't mean that she's exactly like Amber Heard, and Amber Heard, this actress, is exactly like my former wife. No, I'm not saying that. I am saying I do see the familiarity. I do see the traits there of pushing buttons, leading to an argument or a fight, crying victim, seeking arrangements to peace, then self-victimizing or glorifying herself as a strong woman through harsh times, leading to a person that says that she will just not be a victim anymore. And then right when everything, she's back up to this confidence, she starts pushing buttons all over again. She starts trying to trigger anger all over again, And, the videos where she's recording Johnny Depp really mad and then walking off with a smile on her face because she got him, that's a clear indication of what I went through. That says, the doctors may be questioned and they may be broken down, their credibility and stuff. This Shannon Curry, she might not be the best expert. She's never been asked to testify as one, but yet here she is at this place. And okay, that's a good point. But it might not mean that she's wrong. She might have hit it on the button, right on the button, especially given the pattern that Miss Heard actually goes through. This doctor has no experience as an expert, but in my eyes, she nailed it on the head when she described Amber Heard as any one of those disorders, because you got to be living in a life of disorder. You got to be in that mentality in order to go through this cycle of bull crap, of unwanted stress and arguments leading up to an argument and or a fight, where you're the one, where she's the one pushing the buttons, and it leads to this argument all the way up to a fight, and then crying victim, and then coming up on court like, well, I'm a woman that won't take it anymore. But yet here she is with this history of doing that over and over and over and over again throughout the years. Regardless of whatever her childhood was like, regardless of whatever her life with high school was like, regardless of whatever her life was like with other love relationships. No, we're talking this one right here with her and Mr. Depp. Somebody that I was never a strong fan of. I loved his Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but I never took the time to see Cry Baby. Back then he was young and hot, and he was like the coolest dude around. And I think that was one of his earlier movies. And I never rushed to see it. I didn't really give a rat's ass. That being said, he to have partaken into the argument or fight, okay, he's guilty of that. But if he's doing this after a reoccurring time and time again of she pushing his buttons, this is to say that Miss Heard is not innocent either. I don't know how far these two are going as far as trying to destroy each other's credibility or ruin each other's lives. I really don't think they should do that because it looks like these are both guilty people. She being this person that resorts to this type of messed up life based off of her supposed disorders, and he accepting that and keeping her as a wife for X amount of years until he's had enough and all this other stuff. Well, it's good that he's had enough, but that being said, he still went through that entire cycle of life, and this is coming from me, somebody that can't judge. I went through about 2 to 4 years with this relationship, and it sucked. There were reasons why I stuck with it, because I thought, love would conquer all, so to say. But because there were also times where my ex, she did try. She would catch herself where she was seeing the anger being built up in me, and she would calm down and actually, change the path, the direction of the path that we were going, which would have led to another argument. To, sorry, let's be happy. She wouldn't say those exact words, but I got the vibe. She tried. She really, really did try to live life without this animosity that she had when she was with her first husband. She loved how I never beat her up. And she loved how I never lashed out at her children. She bore 2 children that I helped raise. She loved how I wouldn't lash out at her children. She loved how I wouldn't beat her up. But from time to time, she couldn't stop pushing the buttons, leading to the argument, then crying like a victim, then try to arrange peace, make some kind of peace, and then try to feel better of herself by being this strong woman who's used to this fighting and won't take that anymore, and feeling content with herself, just to push buttons all over again and start another argument. I see the pattern, okay? I see the pattern. It went on for a small while in our lives. It went on in a longer while for Mr. Depp and Miss Heard's lives. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm actually wanting to hear. Did Miss Heard actually try to stop this ugly cycle? Did Depp try to do anything in ensuring that peace, up until the next explosion? Or did he just be a typical prima donna actor, that wouldn't let it go, or something like that, or try to make a bigger thing out of it, and all this stuff? That's the other side of the story that I want to hear. I'm not sure if they actually tackled it yet. I just know that the first days was nothing about, so do you drink, Mr. Depp? Oh, so you don't have a drink, is that right? Yeah, because I could have sworn you drank, and all this stuff. Right now it's all about pushing discredibility. It's about discrediting the people. Did you ever smoke marijuana, Mr. Depp? Oh, in California, you never smoked Cali. It's like, come on, dudes. But I get it. That's their job right now. That's what they have to do. So, Miss Heard, did you ever throw that bottle in the air to hear the shattered glass? I mean, hell, even I did that. I'm 20 years sober this coming. No, actually, I'm more than that. August 21st, 2001. I'm gonna be 21 years sober. In August of 22. August 27th, 2022 will be 21 years of sobriety. But I can remember even I threw the bottles, chucked them up a wall or just threw them up in the air to hear it come down. And I had a girlfriend where we did that. We chug our beers arm in arm. And as soon as we did that, we try to chuck it straight up in the air and then run out of the way, see if we could do that after chugging the beer. We did that guzzling and of course, that slight disorientation where you're feeling kind of lightheaded, and we try to run out of the way of the falling beer bottles. Even I did that with a girlfriend, once. I think only once. I can't remember, but it's one of the reasons why I'm sober today. But yeah, I mean, this thing where they're trying to throw in alcohol and maybe some narcotics that they did and some smoking and toking, maybe a little snorting. I get it. It's all a part of discrediting the person, but it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that the incidences didn't happen, especially where some of them were caught on video. Some of them were text messages. He's crazy. Nah, she's crazy, man. I can't deal with this crazy bitch. And this one's, he's crazy. I'm fear of my life. And, they all say that. Okay? They all say that. And until there's a police report or a hospital report where there actually was some kind of violence, then no, it's just a prima donna bullshit that they were going through. But it doesn't mean that the doctors are wrong. There's a cycle of animosity and peace and disregard for safety, as well as love for each other. And again, it comes in a cycle, and that's what I was hearing when I took notice of it. It took me back to a very familiar time with my common law now ex. So it's something that I just got to throw out there. Do either one of them get a free pass? In my eyes, no. Both of them either need to do time or they need to do psychiatric or psychology or whatever doctor's thing and community service and pay their fees. No exemptions. Pay their legal fees. They both look like they need to be punished to some degree or another, and then released back to work, pending that they can get their time done. If it worked for self-destroying Robert Downey Jr., he did his time. He saw the shrinks. Then it can work for Depp and Heard. Two major stars, one in the DC world and another, his own path, his own, I'm an actor, lifestyle or career rather, whichever the case. But in my eyes, they're neither one of them are wrong, but neither one of them is innocent, while the other is guilty. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. It takes two to tango, and those two tangled for. I think they were together for almost a decade. So sorry about that. Yeah, I mean these two need to go through some. They're going through their trials right now. They need to do the tribulation next, because neither one of them are as. I know neither one of them are as life threatening as they claim the other to be, as the other claims to be. But at the same time, I know neither one of them. It's very easy to see neither one of them is more innocent, than the other, which is what they're trying to play off. They're trying to go for straight innocent, I'm a total victim. No, you're not. Whoever's saying that, Heard or Depp, both of them, I'm a total victim. No, you're not. Plain and simple. Yeah, but that person is more the demon of the relationship. Okay, that's what you're trying to prove. Okay, but you got to understand the key words: more demon of the relationship. You're both guilty. They're both guilty. This is one of the reasons why I just usually don't pay attention to celebrity breakups. They're both guilty of something. So does that mean I was guilty of something when I was with my common law wife? Yeah, I'd stormed out on her. I'd walk out on her even in front of her kids. I've called her a bitch. I've called her. I once said "you fuck." Right in front of them one time. Yeah, I was pretty bad. I was pretty angry with her bull crap. So I wasn't a saint either. I never beat her up, but I wasn't like, darling, I just can't take this. I must leave now. None of that crap. I've chewed her out, and I think I've even threw things once. Not at her, but at the wall. I've stormed out. I've walked away. I've walked out on her, and all this stuff. But I came back, and I did come back to her. A couple of times because my stuff was still there. But I did come back to her because I really did want to see it work out. Despite the fact that it didn't in the end. Despite the fact that even from time to time, she really did catch herself. And there's a time where I would calm myself down, but yeah, there was, and that's aside from the little nitpicky stuff. The toilet paper goes this way instead of that way, and all this other crap. A little bit more politeness at the table. I'm born and raised Catholic, so I kind of, watching the kid. I don't know what it is with single moms letting their kids chew with their mouth open and stuff, and play with their food or whatever. I really don't understand that. But I always figured it was because they just weren't born and raised Catholic. But little nitpicky stuff like that also occurred, but nothing to where it would require some kind of legal trauma or legal precedence. Especially if little nitpicky stuff didn't lead to an argument. Sometimes it did, and when you're in that relationship, it's a little difficult to figure out what is the clinical problem and what is the relation. There's this thing amongst us men. If a woman doesn't have something to complain about, she'll die. And there's a lot of us that actually believe that's true. There's a certain thing amongst us men where she flips out over something and, it must be that PMS thing. And it sounds a little rude, but it's true. It crosses our minds, Women can complain about this, that, and this, and that, and that, and this during or after a disruption, and us guys, we're pretty much like, She's nuts. And that's good enough for us. It's like, I know what you mean. It happened to me. You know, it's good enough for us guys. And now how do you differentiate the normal relationship crap with this stuff, where it leads to such a heated argument, if not an actual fight, you know? But it was over some minute incident. Are you really gonna trash the relationship over something that happened so minute? And that leads to whether or not it is a cycle. You have to notice, well, is this the routine? You know, how many times have we gone through this? And that point where I'm just so exhausted with you, is it legit? Or you know, because there are complications to relationships. You're used to having things your way until you have a relationship and you got to meet halfway 50-50. You know, and it's very difficult sometimes even for the woman to do that. She has to do this, she has to do that. She was in touch with her mom, or this and this, and her kids, and what happened on Sex and the City and what happened on Real Housewives. That's her world too. Such and such, something with the coworker. Stuff that you don't really give a rat's ass about. We men don't give a rat's ass about. But here we are trying to work it out, you know? And sometimes it fails. So again, as you look at the routine, you got to take a step back and look at what kind of fights are you having, what kind of disagreements, what kind of disruptions, and at what level was that supposed to be? Oh, it's just normal butting heads of the relationship, or there's something serious going on with this person. And if you're not careful, something serious is about to have an outcome. There's going to be some kind of serious outcome to it. You know, it's tough. It's tough to weigh those balances, man. It's tough to do the weights and balances to that, especially if you haven't gotten that kind of whacked out relationship before. Or if you had and you thought you could handle this one, but it turns out to be too much. Or if you had and you had this one and it turns out to be the routine, which is very, very concerning. You don't want that to be your routine, especially with other, you know, seeing as how it's a different women, but just this horrible routine going on, the usual routine. That's when there's something wrong with you, you know. But all of that concerning this case, concerning Depp and Heard, I believe he's met quite a few nutty bitches. I believe he's actually tried to maintain a relationship with one or two up until this one that drew him to exhaust. I believe that there might have been a fight or two. Not just an argument, but a fight. But I also believe that he's got a leg to stand on when it comes to he and his doctor and everybody on his legal team pointing out this cycle of this routine that's going on that defines the nuttiness, so to say, of Amber Heard. They've got a solid leg to stand on. Now, whether or not Heard and the administration and the doctors have a solid leg to stand on concerning Depp and his wackiness, because he is a Hollywood actor. You know, they do nutty stuff as far as we Texans are concerned. I'm pretty sure they got to point out, I think where she's dropping the ball is the photographs of her face where she said she was attacked but have absolutely no scars. Video recordings of her smiling with a got him at a bad moment on record at the very end of the film. You know, that hurts her credibility, you know. And the simple fact that she's not talking about a routine or a system that Depp would be doing, you know. Instead, she's all over the place, which I think is hurting her also. He's possessive. He's neglective. He's beat her up. He's turned away and walked out on her. He's done this. He's done that. He's said this. He said that. He said Never leave me or I'll kill you. He says, why don't you get out of my damn life? Okay? Now, that kind of bipolar stuff, well, at least in my eyes, that's bipolar. But that kind of trait is not something that's selective. If he's an actual nut bar, you'd see it out of past and previous incidences. This wouldn't be a surprise to me. This would be something like Mike Tyson. We all know how much of a wild man he can be. He's shown it from time to time again with fights, groping a woman, beating up somebody, intimidating others, groping another woman. Depp doesn't have that record. So it's a little difficult for hearing this one person who says that that does this and that he's in total control and all this stuff. It's a little difficult to manage. Not to say that it's impossible, but at the same time, it doesn't look like a solid leg for the Heard defense to stand on. It doesn't really look like a good solid leg. But, the trials aren't over, at least not at the time of this recording. It happens to be Wednesday, April 27, 2022. And I only got a couple of glimpses of the trial. I try to just get the basic stories. But again, I'm throwing this in because of the simple fact of the similarities that I know, that I saw out of the Heard and Depp relation, that I could see out of me and one of my previous relationships. Okay. That's really what drew this up here. And I hope that more evidence comes up, and I hope that we finally get the full details, and then we can all take a step back and make a basic assumption as to what's going on. I personally think they're both guilty of things. I personally think that it's not entirely the destructive partner that they fell in love with and all this stuff. At least not in their entirety. I honestly think if they to be punished, they're to be punished for whatever degree of negativity that caused this relationship to go bad, and that they're still permitted to carry on with their works, because let's just be honest, it turns out what they really might need is just a good ass whooping. They just might need to get their butts, a legal butt kicking, to straighten both of them out. Honestly, I think that's what it's really resorted to. That they just need to get a good butt whooping, a legal butt whooping, both of them, and have them both on their merry way from that point on. And then whatever trials they go through after that, it's on them. It's on them. To be honest, that's what I think. Again, it worked for people like Robert Downey Jr. It worked for people like Winona Ryder. It worked for quite a few people out there that had to go through some crap. They had to go lick their wounds. They had to face some punishment. They had to do some time. They had to pay some fees. They had to do some, I don't think parole, but maybe probation, and they can't miss appointment. You ever been on probation? You can't miss an appointment because it starts a warrant and another warrant for your arrest all over again. And then you're finishing off your probation fees, and then having to go to court for your warrant and having to do the time that for whatever it is that the warrant it calls for. It sucks having to be rung through the legal system, but if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. And then from that point on, whatever crap they go through, it's on them. You know what I'm saying? From that point on, that's the way I see it. It's a common sense on common ground kind of viewpoint, and I hope that I hope that I'm not the only one to think of this. I really don't think I am. But everybody right now is like, oh, what's going to happen to so-and-so? Their lives are going to be destroyed. And so-and-so is the other hand, and his or her life is going to be, his or her careers is over, and all this other crap. Doomsday, doom and gloom and all this good stuff. And on this show, it's a little bit more of the common sense on common ground kind of thing. They both need a good ass whooping, and then they both need to be sent on their way after they've paid the price. And from that point on, anything that happens then, they do it to themselves. That's where common sense on common ground shines, and that's what's shined on this show here between you and I. So y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. Have a good one, and keep taking care of yourselves. Don't get into messed up relationships, because they suck, and you just really don't want to be in that. Take care of yourselves. Keep loving each other, and stay strong. Y'all take it easy, okay? This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.